Today on the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast, it's going to be a big election day tomorrow. We're going to talk a lot about that. But the biggest thing we're talking about here today is the importance of really, and I mean really, putting America first. That's not happening right now. That needs to change. So get ready, because I'm on fire today, and it's all unfiltered.
Dennis Michael Lynch gives you his word, and he will never let you down. He will always fight for America.
The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Hello, I'm Dennis Michael Lynch, and I thank you for joining me today. It is Monday. It is the start of November, and we are gonna be in for a rude awakening tomorrow. Tomorrow is Election Day, and I think when many of us wake up on Wednesday morning, we're going to be hit with the reality that New York City, the biggest city in the world, let alone the country, will now be under the rule of a socialist, Democrat, Muslim extremist. I mean, I feel like I feel when I say that as if I told AI, make me the most radical, crazy book that nobody would ever believe and say, oh my God, this is a sci-fi movie. And it is as real as anything you've ever touched, felt, smelt. It is real, folks. It is real. And today we are going to have a program that has a lot of clips and has a lot of truth and has a lot of warning to it. Now, over the weekend, I had made my first media appearance in more than 5 years. 5 years ago, I did an appearance with Megyn Kelly on her new podcast when it was new at the time. Prior to that, it had been pretty much about 4 years since I had left Newsmax. And I have been in the mindset for the longest time, and I did the Megyn thing out of a favor to Megyn because she was just starting. But, you know, I have been in the mindset that doing media hits is an absolute waste of time. And I should just focus in on what we do here and make our show as good as possible. And I have changed this philosophy of the last few weeks, and now I am going full steam ahead. And although I don't expect you to see me on Fox News, because much like Charlie Kirk, I'm on the do not invite list there, and I don't think you'll ever see me on Newsmax, considering they fired me because I revealed that the owner there is not America first. He is him first, and put his money into Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation. He also took $50 million in from Qatar, or Qatar, however you prefer saying it. So you will see me, though, on numerous podcasts, and there will be clips everywhere. And I started this Saturday on Real America's Voice, and there was a show there that I did, and I have hired a publicist, a PR agent. So this way, her sole focus is to get me out there. And tonight, the plan is that I will be on Rudy Giuliani's podcast at 8:15 Eastern for about 15 minutes. It will be broadcast live on X. We will retweet it on my X, and that's x.com/trustdml. And then, of course, we'll take the video and we'll put it up on Facebook and on Team DML and on the DML News app. But the reason why I'm doing this is I go back to what has really sparked the rebirth of this podcast and everything DML, and that is when Charlie Kirk was murdered. I sat there and I watched that young man fall to his death for simply trying to be a messenger of America, a messenger of God. And they took him. And since then, what have we had? We had about a week where everybody was praying and coming together and holding candles and talking about how great a person Charlie was and that he just wanted to bring people together, right? You heard them all. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, Mark Levin. The list is long. Everybody, same thing. Can't let this happen in America. He was such a great man, blah, 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 blah. We got to come together. That's what he brought people together like nobody else. And like always, people forget. Because now, since then, what have we had? We've had people going out and attacking his wife. We've had people going out and making fortunes like Candace Owens and a whole other slew on who really killed Charlie Kirk. And now I'm watching fighting within the Republican Party. I mean, extreme fighting like I don't remember ever seeing before about whether or not you stand with Israel, don't stand with Israel, whether, you know, the Arab world, is it really as bad as we're saying? And I'm sitting here and I'm saying to myself, what are we doing? What has happened to the message? Sure, it's important to know who killed Charlie Kirk, but it's more important to know why Charlie Kirk is dead. Charlie Kirk's life was taken because he was a fantastic, maybe the best ever messenger when combining the importance of country and the importance of God and faith. Nobody had ever messaged those two things like Charlie Kirk. And the message of pro-America, America first, the message of pro-God, the warnings of Islam taking over in America, that was the basis for everything Charlie Kirk. People want to change that. They want to switch those words around. You can't have it both ways. And I'll use Tucker Carlson right now, but believe me when I tell you, I'm going to get both sides of this. You can't be Tucker Carlson, get up there and say how great Charlie Kirk was, and then at the same time, make every single show you do about how terrible and horrible Israel is. You can't have it both ways. You can't say you believed in what Charlie stood for and then slam everything that Charlie talked about. You can't do it and have any credibility. And I don't know what has happened to the Republican Party, but we got a president, President Trump, who's doing a lot of things right, but still isn't doing enough to ensure that we run this country for the next 20 plus years. Now, I know we're only in our first year and we've got time on the clock, a lot of time on the clock, but you're going to see tomorrow how it is that although we think there's a lot of time on the clock to get an entire agenda, we may be doing this agenda in the reverse fashion. And we may find ourselves in a big problem for 2028, let alone the midterms in 2026, because we're not messaging right. The left messages. They know how to message. They are filled with messengers, and they always stick together. Although they're selling freaking voodoo, horror, and just anything that looks like they think will stick on the wall, and that always comes back to, I hate Trump. We are not taking advantage of their weaknesses. And we are going to discuss this hugely on this program today. I'm going to start off with something that just happened on CNN. CNN had an entire segment on the Democrat Party and their lack of leadership going into 2028. Now, I want to just say on a side note, if you're on Rumble, if you're on Facebook, please hit the share button. Get us out there. When CNN took a look back, Al Gore had over 25% support going into who would possibly be the nominee. Hillary Clinton had over 25%. Joe Biden had over 25%. When you look right now in the Democrat Party. There is no runaway person. Not one person, not Gavin Newsom, not AOC, none of them. There is no clear leader on the Democrat Party. Nobody, according to CNN right now, has over 25%. Nobody has even 21%. That is a void. Now, what we should be doing on our side is pounding home every single last thing bad that the Democrats are doing to this country, to the states that they run, to the cities that they hold. On this program last week, or maybe it was one of my morning videos on Facebook. I don't know why sometimes the lines blur, but I'll just repeat it. The top 5 states in the United States who can pay their bills, who has a surplus of money, are all run by Republican governors. The bottom 5 who can't pay their bills, who are in dire straits financially, are all run by Democrats. You got California, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Jersey, and Illinois at the bottom of the list. New York's not far behind. We should be pounding on this. Pounding. But we're not. Our focus is somewhere else. And because our focus is somewhere else, when you take the inability for people to live comfortably in the United States of America, and when you're focusing all of your energy on Israel, the Middle East, China, Japan, UK, all these different places, when you're going around the country and talking about other countries, what you're doing, whether you recognize it or not, is you are alienating the people who you need voting for you, not just in this election, but in the next election in their life, and the one after that, and the one after that, and the one after that. That's about messaging. And our side has lost its ability to message. It's like we have fallen, we were driving 1,000,000 miles an hour, and it's like we made a wrong turn and we're falling off a cliff. We drove off the cliff. I want you to let this sink in for a second, because tomorrow the reality comes. Before that, we've been talking about it. To the right of me is going to be on a loop the entire show. Zohran Mamdani. He's about to become the mayor of New York City. And for those of you who are going to sit there and scream about voting for, Curtis Sliwa, it's not going to happen. He's polling last out of the 3 of them. The demographics in New York will not support any Republican whatsoever. You could have Trump. You can have J.D. Vance. You can have Ron DeSantis running for mayor of New York, and they would lose. Mamdani, if you strip out foreigners, if you just look at the native born in New York City, he's only polling at 30%. But when you take in the immigrants, the people who were not born in this country, he's at 67%. There you go. When was the last time you heard anybody, any podcaster, aside from me, pounding home the message of we need to stop legal immigration into this country? When was the last time you heard it on Fox News? You know what I've heard Trump say plenty of times? We need more immigration. What? What are you talking about? That is alienating our own citizens, because these people are coming over. They are a cost. They are not a plus. They are a cost to the American taxpayer. They are a competitor for an American job. You want to know why this guy, Mamdani, who, by the way, every commercial that you see on a loop right now is in Arabic. He is giving his commercials in Arabic. I'm not going to play him here for you because you wouldn't know what the hell it is he's saying. But it's on a loop. Arabic. So when you take the youth in this country and you don't focus on them, you make life almost impossible for them. Where do you think they're going to go? Axios has a poll out, and there's another study that was just done. These numbers are going to freak you out. 67% of Gen Z have a positive or neutral feeling about socialism. Positive or neutral feeling, 67%. That same group, when asked about capitalism, only 40% have a positive or a neutral position on capitalism. So let's take a look at that. Why is that? Well, it's twofold. And when it comes in, it creates one big, huge, colossal problem. In one hand, you've got youngsters who cannot afford anything. Now, I have 3 amazing children, 30, 27, and 25. They all work. I know how much money they make. They make a really decent amount of money for the age that they're at. They work 6 days. My son Denny works 7 days. Ryan often's working the 7th day. You know what the number one complaint is that they have? It ain't Israel. It's not Palestine. It's they can't afford groceries. They can't afford insurances. When my son's AC unit breaks down in his condo, he says to me, I $2,200. I mean, you'd think that it was going to be the end of the world. They don't have any money. All 3 of my adult children have decent sized pool of friends. Right? I'm not talking about 1 kid, 2 kids here. They have a decent size pool of friends. Let's just say each one of them, their top 10 friends. And I know all their names. There is not one single one of those kids that is sitting on their ass at home, eating Doritos and playing games. They got jobs. Every single one of them has a job. And they don't all live in Florida. They're up from New York, all down the eastern coast, the majority of them. They all have jobs. Even the ones that don't have careers. One kid is out caddying every single day, carrying bags, trying to make money. He's out there. He's trying to get jobs, putting resumes out. These kids are working, but they have all one universal problem. They don't have any money because the cost of living in the United States is skyrocket every single day. It is skyrocket high. What are we doing to lower those costs? I don't see enough happening. That should be on the pole position. We have secured that border. We have stabilized the border. We need to be focusing in on our kids. Forget about us, you listening, 40, 50, 60, 70 years old, either working, winding up your work, or retired. It's hard for all of us as well when you look at the costs. But imagine being a kid today and you're looking forward, you're looking at America, you're saying, what is America offering me? It's offering me another bill. I can't buy a home. You look at the average price of a home in a decent area where you, when you were young and I was young, would want to raise your family. When I bought my first home, a starter home, a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, small little kitchen on a 60 by 100 in Massapequa, a white, mostly blue-collar town that had a good school district, $120,000. I needed $24,000 for a deposit. And I had it. I saved it. Today, that same house, if I went to go buy that same house today, I would have to come up with $1.2 million. How in heaven's name, at 26 years old, when I bought my first house, would I have $250,000 for a deposit? So even if you want to go to there are areas here in Florida, you know, if you want to live right by I-95, you got to hear a little bit of the traffic going through, this and that or whatever. But, you know, you want a nice little piece of property in an area where maybe there's other families. Minimum $350,000. Average $450,000 to $500,000. You find me a 26-year-old right now or a 27-year-old who has $100,000 that they could put down on a house, and then in addition to that, have money to where they can live. They don't have it, but yet they still have jobs. They're out working. When you have it to where kids can't survive, they start to look for the alternatives. And that's why you see socialism. Free bus, free food, my rent won't increase. You're going to tax the rich so this way I could get more. That's what happens. Now on the flip side, why don't you see kids starting businesses anymore? What are they supposed to start? Every single business out there right now, if you're not proficient in AI, you're looking down the barrel of a gun. You know how much money it costs for a startup? The regulations, the paperwork. You got to get a lawyer. You got to get a CPA. You got to file this document. You got to file that document. We have seen a decline in entrepreneurship every single year in this country since the 1970s. We are doing nothing at all to change this. And this is why we are seeing kids today saying, I'm going to go in a different direction. And when you've got a Democrat Party that is as weak as I just explained to you, somebody's going to fill that void. And you know who's filling that void? Him. Mamdani. Trump just last night was on 60 Minutes. The liberal maniac Nora from 60 Minutes, who's interviewing Trump, you know what she says to him? A lot of people say that Mamdani is the Democrat version of you. Charismatic, fighter. We're going to have Democrat socialists, Muslims at that, filling the void of the Democrat Party, which now means that if the Republicans can even get their act together, remember, Trump's around for a couple more years, then he's done. That torch has to be handed over. We're not going to be going up anymore against Joe Biden's, Hillary Clinton's, Al Gore's, Gavin Newsom's even. We're going to be going up against the AOCs and the Mamdanis. And it's going to be a tough win. I keep on touching on Mamdani. Minneapolis. There's a guy named Omar Fateh. He's a Somalian. We posted on Facebook just a few days ago. He was sitting there at a rally. He's trying to become the mayor of Minneapolis. He's waving a Somali flag. This guy isn't hiding what his plan is. He has said, and we got the video for you, if he wins, one of his top priorities is going to be helping the illegal community in Minneapolis avoid ICE raids. You got the video, Ryan? Play it.
Have a better communication between the mayor and the chief, and also the city council members, so that whenever we know something's coming down the pike, that city council is alerted immediately, because they're the connection point to community, and they can articulate that and disseminate that information to folks. I think that's really important.
Now consider this for a moment. This guy that I just showed you, he's going to be one of the leaders of the Democrat Party going forward. Because even if he doesn't win this time, if he loses by a point or two, you want to know what he's going to do? He's going to try again in a couple of years. And maybe next time he wins, especially when we keep on taking more legal immigration. We have more Somalians coming in. And where do you think they're going? Minnesota. And then after that, it will wind up being governor. Don't laugh. Where do you think Mamdani's going to want to go next? Governor. Because Hochul's going to run for president, and he's going to look to fill that void. And then you'll have an entire state of New York being taken over by an Islamic sympathizer. Trump was on 60 Minutes, I told you. His message couldn't be more different than that of Omar Fateh or Mamdani. Here's a clip from last night on 60 Minutes about immigration.
More recently, Americans have been watching videos of ICE tackling a young mother, tear gas being used in a Chicago residential neighborhood, and the smashing of car windows. Have some of these raids gone too far?
No, I think they haven't gone far enough because we've been held back by the judges, by the liberal judges that were put in by Biden and by Obama.
You're okay with those tactics?
Yeah, because you have to get the people out. You know, you have to look at the people. Many of them are murderers. Many of them are people that were thrown out of their countries because they were, criminals.
So Trump, I love it, says we got to continue. We got to do even more, right? But look at the position to where she's coming from, right? Do you think these are appropriate? He's going after illegal aliens who have absolutely no regard for the rules. ICE agents are continuously under pressure, always in harm's way. You got a judge that just put an injunction just yesterday telling Trump that he can't have the National Guard in Portland, that they haven't demonstrated that there was enough of a problem. It's not justified. Federal agents getting attacked isn't justification. It would only be justified, obviously, if there were conservatives doing this to Democrats. Then it would be a different story. But go back to what you saw there. The pushback, the resistance. She doesn't ask the question saying, Mr. President, have you ever looked into how many illegal aliens are actually committing crimes here in the United States? She doesn't give him an example or any kind of support for what it is that he's trying to do. She wants to be anti-Trump. She wants to make him look like a racist and a bad man. And then you've got the Somalians saying, I'm going to take all these people and let them hide from the bad man. So we've got a country that is clearly divided. And all the people around the world are trying to take advantage of that. And what we should be doing as conservatives is unifying behind the President of the United States. And that's not happening. It's clearly not happening. And you're going to see that now for the rest of the show. We are in a battle. That battle is not hard. In the left corner, you've got a leadership that is trying to push free on everyone. They are the party of giving you things for free. And then on the right corner is we are trying to sell freedom. We're trying to sell freedom, and they're trying to sell free. Or at least that's the way it's supposed to be. It is supposed to be that. But we got Republicans right now fighting against each other over fricking Israel. I can't understand this. But before I start playing those clips, I want to re-emphasize that I think we are not doing the right message. When I talk about all these kids today, it is going to get 10 times worse before it gets better. And I don't know, based on our current trajectory, where people's minds are focused in the Republican Party and even in the Trump administration, I don't know whether or not they're not burying us. AI, if you watched my program last week, AI is going to take over so many jobs. Amazon is ridding of 600,000 people because of AI. In the next 5 years, there is going to be very little opportunity for our young. I don't know what jobs they're going to take. Now, the guest I had last week, he was very pro AI, he was saying, well, listen, it was the same thing when we had horse and buggy and we used cars now coming in to replace those. The car manufacturer had jobs and the roads needed to be built and the bridges need to be built. So the change, it eliminated the guy who trained the horses to be, taxis. It eliminated the guy who made the horse wagons, but many more jobs came up. I think a terrible comparison. We're not talking about an advancement to where people can get to work faster. AI is an advancement where we're ripping out the human being. So if you think that 67-40 is bad today, what do you think it's going to be in 5 years from now when you go to these kids and they say, I lost my job to AI. I can't get a job because I'm not AI. Nobody's doing anything about this. What Trump's doing right now is he's cutting deals with the Middle East to build more power plants and more data facilities. Why are we doing that with our competitors? Why are we doing that with foreign countries? It doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand it. And if I was sitting with President Trump, I'd say, please, President Trump, explain to me what we're doing right now to lower the costs of being an American. Because our future are our kids and our grandkids. And I don't see how they're going to have a fighting chance based on what I'm seeing right now as a whole. China. China is a 10 times greater threat than Israel or Palestine to the longevity of this country. And nobody talks about China anymore. China has infiltrated every single last aspect of this country in the same way that the Muslim Brotherhood has. You want to talk about civil wars? Do you want to know what the big war is going to be here in the United States 5, 10, 15 years from now? It's going to be the Chinese versus the Muslims, because they both have had the same plan: take over America from within. The Muslims right now are doing it at the government and the school level. China is doing it on the terror level. They are establishing themselves into every little tiny pocket of our lives. We just had a former general who retired, on 60 Minutes telling what it is that China is doing just alone in water plants, the people who feed your water to you. Play it, Ryan.
What did they target?
They targeted water, they targeted electrical power, infrastructure, transportation are examples of the types of things that were targeted. And in many cases, they're vulnerable.
Multiple intrusions at utilities were discovered in 2023, and China had been on some of their computer networks at least 5 years.
So that you understand what that means. If China was to invade Taiwan, they were having it, they're setting it up so this way they would be able to poison your water supply, my water supply. Now, I don't know if they do it. Maybe they do it to one small little town. That was in Littletown, Massachusetts, 10,000 people. So maybe China goes in and poisons that water. People die. And China says, get out of Taiwan, or else I do the same thing to 400 towns across the country. What are we doing to stop that? What are we doing about it? Right now, we're cutting trade deals with China. I don't understand this. In that interview, that general explains that there's not a moment in a day that passes by when China is not, at this point, tapping into our systems, our nuclear systems, our water systems, our Pentagon systems, your whole life through TikTok. They are just setting up. And what are we doing? We're playing on Twitter. Our problems are huge. And what I see right now happening is that the people who are supposed to be talking about this, the people who are supposed to be talking about what I'm talking to you about today, putting pressure on the administration, putting pressure on governors to start focusing in on America First. You know, America First is a great bumper sticker. It's a great slogan, but it also needs to be carried out. And what I have found in my life is that when people don't want to address a real problem, what they do is they avoid it and they come up with something else to talk about. Right? You say to your kids, why do you keep on failing your math test? Well, I did good on my reading. Why do you keep on failing your math test? Well, all the kids didn't do well. Why are you? And they keep on switching the topic. We need to be laser-like focused. Yeah, is the topic that we're talking about right now as sexy as, talking about Nancy Pelosi's stock trades? Absolutely not. But if we don't address what we've got facing our country right this minute, the Mamdanis are going to run wild. We are going to lose New York City tomorrow. We're going to lose New York State eventually. We're going to lose Minneapolis. We're going to lose Minnesota eventually. It keeps on coming in and coming in and coming in and coming in and coming in. And I feel like nobody is talking about this aside from myself. I want to switch now to the infighting. And it's really not much of a switch. It's more of I want to support what I'm talking about by showing you the infighting. I want to start off by saying, anybody who's followed me for a long time knows that I shouldn't even have to say this. But, I've been doing a lot of clips. And I told you in the beginning of the show here, I hired a PR person. I'm going on these other podcasts. I'm doing everything I can to get my name back out there and get it on top because I believe my America First message is the one that needs to be heard the most. The true America First message. And just like Mamdani sees an opening in the Democrat Party, I see an opening in the world of podcasting. I see the need for a conservative messenger who goes back to the basics. Tucker Carlson has the #1 podcast in conservative land. And overall, he's one of the top 5. And I have been listening to his podcast because I'm looking at all these clips that I'm seeing and I'm like, what is he talking about? I got to listen. And the other day I had to go up for an annual physical. I had to go to Mayo Clinic. 3 hours there, 3 hours back. I listened to 4 Tucker Carlson episodes, every single one of them. is focused in exclusively on hating down on Israel. So when I come out and I'm talking about this stuff, you know what I get back on my feeds? You know what I get people telling me for? Asking me how much Israel's paying me. One person said to me the other day, did you declare the $7,000 on your taxes? Because the new thing is that podcasters and conservative influencers are getting paid $7,000 per post by the Israelis. Let me be very, very direct on something. Two things that you can swear on. Number one, I will never, ever go on TikTok until it is owned by the Americans. And number two, I will never take money from anybody who is ever going to try to influence what it is that I have to say. Ever. So this message that I'm putting out today is paid for by me. I can't say the same for the people that I'm going to be talking about here in a couple of minutes. When you look at Israel and you look at the Muslim world, understand something. The Muslims are infiltrating the United States. They are buying influence all they possibly can. They're doing that to take over, to dominate. The Israelis, no doubt, same thing. They're lobbying. They're paying for influence. They're doing the same sort of campaigns, messaging campaigns. They're doing it for survival. You never hear the Jews talk about how they're going to take over a city. You never hear the Jews talk about how they're going to take over America. You don't hear that. Now, I'm not saying that their influence and the money that they put out isn't problematic. I don't think any country should be dictating what the United States policies are. Not Israel, not China, not Saudi Arabia, not Qatar, not Palestine, not Turkey, not Russia, not France, not the UK, not Brazil, nobody. The only people who have any say on the policies of the United States of America should be the voters in this country, the legal citizens who vote. So my message isn't pro-Israel, anti-Israel, pro-Palestine, anti-Israel. No, mine is pro-America. But let's be very clear on something. Israel is doing what they do to survive. The Muslim world is doing what they do to take over. It is significantly different. And if you can't see the difference, you're either blind, stupid, or paid for. One of the podcasts that I listened to was between, actually I should say, the podcast I was listening to with Tucker, he was talking about what the 5 pillars are of MAGA. That's another show. I disagree with the way that he set up what he believes the 5 pillars of MAGA are. But again, I would need a full show for that. And then he brought in Marjorie Taylor Greene. And these two might as well just get married. They just play such lovey-dovey with each other over the thing. Oh, you're great. No, you're great. No, you're the best. No, you're the best. Oh, my God. Can we get to the point? Tucker Carlson said that Christians who are in defense of Israel are Christian Zionists. Okay? It's like, how extreme do you have to go? What happened to Tucker Carlson, the guy who used to talk about immigration all the time? What happened to Tucker Carlson, the guy who should be talking about jobs? And I'm just using Tucker. There's tons of people that I could be sitting here talking about. And like I said, I'm going to go to Mark Levin in 2 minutes. Every single time. You think we're talking about homelessness on Tucker Carlson? No, we're talking about the Jews. Talking about Israel. Talking about Benjamin Netanyahu being the worst thing in the world. Here's an exchange where Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene are all but saying we should just blow up Israel. Okay? And keep in mind, just remember what Marjorie Taylor Greene asks you in her little speech here, to put Hamas to the side. Hamas aside. Terrorists aside. Play the video.
Yeah, I know the Israel's foreign ministry has paid a lot of people to slander me as a bigot, but I just want to be clear that the people I'm most upset with are not Israelis or Jews. They're Christian ministers, self-described Christian ministers who are preaching heresy. That really offends me. I mean, I understand Israel is a country that's seeking every possible advantage. It's a small country. It's 9 million people. It's an irrelevant country, really. And it's made itself relevant through pluck and aggression and violence and lobbying. And, I kind of respect that in a way. They're making their way in the world. They don't have a lot, and they're trying, to leverage everything that they do have. So I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. And I do respect it in some ways. But what I don't respect, what I'm horrified by, is Christian ministers making excuses for the murder of Christians, or anyone else, actually, for that matter. Right. And they should know better. It is heresy. It's misleading a lot of the best people in the country. A lot of the Christian Zionists, evangelicals are like wonderful people, like my favorite people, actually. And they've been completely brainwashed by this deception because their leaders are themselves brainwashed or paid, or who knows what their motive is, but they're telling lies. And I really feel like they need to be called out above all else.
I fully agree with you. As a matter of fact, I did a call last night and there was many Christians that are from the West Bank and from Gaza on the call. And they were being very honest about all the horrible things that they have been through themselves and people they know have been through, and the abuse that they take from the IDF and the abuse that they constantly take. And these are the atrocities that Americans, especially American Christians, need to understand. And it's real. It is constantly happening. I've heard from so many Christians in the West Bank about how they are attacked constantly by settlers. I've heard stories about how their Christian churches are attacked. I've heard stories about how Christians there have been murdered. And if, we can put Hamas aside, if American Christians can't wake up to realize that, okay, hold on, we've been lied to, and these things are actually happening, and they can't analyze it of why they're happening and who is actually doing it, then they really are lost. They really are blinded. But these stories that I'm hearing and being told over and over again, it's not war propaganda. And it is very, very real. And it's some of the worst things happening in our lifetime. It's just like what's happening to Christians in Nigeria. Yeah. There's real Christian persecution, and it's happening in Gaza, and it's happening in the West Bank. And it cannot be ignored. And Christian pastors, most of all, should be the ones talking about it. Of course. Not always making excuses for Israel and demanding that the people in their pews donate their money and give their loyalty and give their obedience to the country that is inflicting these horrors on Christians. These Christian pastors should be the ones calling it out.
Yeah. It's one of the most shameful things I've ever seen in my life, and it's one of the things that offends me more than anything. So I hope they repent, because I think it's really, really dark what they're doing.
So Tucker says it's one of the most shameful things he's ever seen in his life that Christian pastors are not calling out the Israelis for killing Christians. First of all, this is Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene providing this information just on a podcast. No pictures, no videos, no nothing. I'll tell you what that is. When your message isn't working, you got to start riling people up. And so now, what are they doing? They're going to try to rile up Christians into believing that Jews are actually out with a agenda to kill Christians. Now, listen, if you're a Christian living in the Gaza Strip among the Palestinians and Hamas, well, you may want to get your head checked. Okay? That's like me going into into Dearborn with my cross out, and then me coming back and being like, ice hit my car, or it's like, hey man, Don't be standing in the middle of freaking crossfire and think that you're not going to get hit. Okay? I mean, it's just so ridiculous. It's the most shameful thing. Keep that in mind. The most shameful thing, one of the most shameful things he's ever seen in his life. Because I wish I was face to face with Tucker Carlson right now, because I got some questions to ask him. Again, remember, I'm pro-America. America first. Why are we talking about this stuff in the Tucker Carlson program? Because this is all that's happening in the Republican Party. Just this division, division, division. Here is Tucker talking about Trump and his pointless attack on Iran. Go.
The radicalizing moment for me, I think, was in June with the utterly pointless bombing of Iran. And I remember thinking, how many Americans have been killed by Haitians in the last 20 years versus how many have been killed by Iranians? I don't think in this country, I don't think we've had any Americans killed by Iranians. We've had a lot of Americans killed by Haitians, a lot. And yet Haitians get special protected status, but we're bombing Iran. And I just felt like that would be the kind of America first way to think about it. You know, let's create a hierarchy of threats, and let's just start with the death toll. And no Americans have been killed on American soil by Iran, you know, in my memory. So I'm not saying Iran is great. I'm not endorsing Iran, but I'm saying from an American perspective, that's not even in the top 25 list of threats to us. So all these Republicans I kind of expected to say, Mike Johnson is a completely corrupt person, but not Mike Johnson, but like people with souls in the legislative bodies, I expected someone to stand up and say that, and they all went along with it. And they cheered it. Like, what was that? They didn't mean anything, they said.
Tucker doesn't want Trump to attack Iran because Iranians haven't killed anybody on American soil. That's his argument. It is the most ridiculous, stupid, uneducated comment that I think I've ever heard. But maybe this will make sense to you on why he would say something like he just said. Here is Tucker again championing for Sharia law. Go.
But you should know, Seth, that the real danger is Sharia law. Sharia law. And you can tell when you go to a place like Abu Dhabi or Riyadh, like, oh man, I hope we don't ever wind up with a society like this with a rape rate of 0, where you leave your keys in your Lamborghini and don't ever worry about it being stolen. And, you know, if people want to get wasted, they do it at home. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't.
Boy, I hope we don't wind up with that.
Mm-hmm.
So the asinine just only gets bigger. And keep in mind, I used to like Tucker Carlson a lot. He used to interview me on Fox News all the time. Very gracious to my daughter. I've told these stories before on here. But this guy and so many other people like him have gone off the cliff, the mental cliff. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they're desperate for clicks, if he took in too much money from outside investors. I mean, people say that he's taken money from Qatar. I don't know what it is. So maybe he feels like he's got to justify that money he took in. I have no idea. This is why money is always bad. It's bad in politics and it's bad in media, because you could buy a politician and you could buy a media person. That's why when I was on Newsmax, I had it written in my contract, I will not read any of your ads. I don't use the product. I'm not reading the ads. That's how it works. I just want to tell Tucker Carlson and the people who believe in what he's talking about how stupid this is. And Marjorie Taylor Greene as well. You know what I didn't hear them talk about? Why aren't they talking about what really is happening to Christians? Let me give you a little stat. 90% of the Christians who are killed, persecuted, have to become martyrs over the past 25 years, 90% of the violations, from murder down to whatever you want to call it, 90% has been carried out by Islamics, not by Jews. 90% worldwide. Where was that? 300,000. It's an estimated 300,000 Christians have been killed in the past 25 years just from Islamics alone. And the most shameful thing that Tucker Carlson has ever heard is that Christian pastors are not bringing a light to the few Christians who were killed in Gaza. I can't understand what I'm listening to. Don't tell me that the Republican Party and some of the people on this side aren't bought and paid for. I don't understand. I don't understand it. Haiti? Why aren't we bombing Haiti instead of Iran? Have you seen Haiti? Do you think Haiti has nuclear weaponry? Do you think they have any sort of threat militarily towards the United States of America? Iran, since 1971, has been killing Americans. Maybe not on U.S. soil, Tucker, but they've been killing them around the world. And they are dead set on killing the United States. I mean, geez, I bet you we don't have all that many Chinese who have killed Americans on U.S. soil. Not many Russians, not many Turkish, not many Indians, not many North Koreans. Are you now going to tell me that North Korea is a nice place too because they haven't killed a whole lot of people on U.S. soil? Let me give something to Tucker Carlson because he wouldn't give it out there. I'll give it out to you. Since 1980, does Tucker forget the Iran hostage crisis? 52 Americans held for 444 days, abused until Reagan came in. Iran did that to Americans. 1983, the Beirut embassy, remember that? Yes, Iran created, funded, and directed Hezbollah to carry out a suicide truck bomb that killed 63 people, including 17 Americans. Then also in 1983, the Beirut barracks bombing, if you remember. Hezbollah, acting on Iran's orders, detonated a truck bomb that collapsed the U.S. Marine barracks, killing 241 American service members. The deadliest single-day loss for the Marines since Iwo Jima. Tucker doesn't bring that up. 1996, the Khobar Towers bombing. Iran trained and equipped Saudi Hezbollah terrorists who bombed a U.S. Air Force housing complex in Saudi Arabia, killing 19 airmen and wounded nearly 500. 2003 to 2011 in the Iraq War, Iran's Quds force supplied Shia militias. 603 U.S. troops wounded and thousands more. 2007, the Karbala attack. 5 American soldiers and abducted 4 others. Killed. 2020, Al-Assad missile strike. Iran fired 16 ballistic missiles directly at U.S. troops in Iraq, causing over 100 traumatic brain injuries. 2023 to 2025, proxy drone and rocket attacks. Iran-backed militias in Iraq, Syria, and Jordan launched over 200 strikes on U.S. bases, killing 3 soldiers at Tower, 22, and wounded dozen others. 2025 missile attack on an Al-Uaid air base. Iran fired 14 to 19 ballistic missiles at the largest U.S. base in Qatar. All were intercepted, but the strike targeted thousands of Americans. And as far as people being killed on U.S. soil, assassination plots on U.S. soil, Iran has orchestrated multiple foiled murder-for-hire schemes against different Trump officials, one of them being Mike Pompeo. The list here is very long. Tucker Carlson doesn't want to bring that up. He doesn't want to bring that up. Sharia law. If Sharia law, you could, what do you say? You could have your Lamborghini with the keys in it and not have it stolen. Why? Because you think that's better than the Constitution? No, it's because you in the United States can steal a Lamborghini and spend some time in jail. In Iran, in Saudi Arabia, you're going to get killed. You're going to get thrown off a roof for being gay. He's now protecting Sharia law like it's a great thing. Because people like me are concerned that Sharia law is going to start to be imposed here in the United States of America. like it is in the UK. There are 85 Sharia councils in the UK right now. Tucker doesn't care. On the flip side of this, Mark Levin, Lindsey Graham, a whole slew of them, all they can talk about is Israel, 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 Israel. They're fighting for the death for Israel. Where is the passion from Lindsey Graham, Mark Levin, Tucker Carlson, MTG? Where is the passion that I'm seeing out of these people for the American citizens to strengthen the Republican Party? Why is Trump endorsing Lindsey Graham, a guy who fought for amnesty and now is just such a warmonger? He wants to bring us into one war after the next. Here is Lindsey Graham speaking to, I think it's the Republican Jewish Coalition. I'm not even going to play Mark Levin's speech because it was just too long, where he just railed on Tucker Carlson, just railed, because the two of these guys are in a war, and neither one of them makes any sense. Nobody's championing for America. Do you know how rich Mark Levin is? Do you know how rich Tucker Carlson is? Neither one of those men can identify with you, with your children, with the vast majority of Americans. Marjorie Taylor Greene, worth tens of millions of dollars. Lindsey Graham, Lord knows how much money he's got sitting in his little back basement. And when he's finally out of the Senate, he'll wind up getting a freaking board position at Halliburton or whoever else makes military apparatus, because all he's done is champion for them every single day. Ryan, play the video of Lindsey Graham. Listen to what this man says.
He recognized Jerusalem as capital of Israel. Why? Because if you got a problem with that, take it up with God. He's the guy that did it, not Trump. So I just want to say, I feel good about the Republican Party. I feel good about where we're going as a nation. We're killing all the right people and we're cutting your taxes. Trump is my favorite president. We've run out of bombs. We didn't run out of bombs in World War II. So, as a coalition of Republicans, some Baptist, some Jewish, we organize ourselves around principles that we love and we cherish. We love individual freedom. We love entrepreneurship. We love capitalism. We love Israel. We love the idea of Israel. We love the struggle they've been involved in. We love them, helping them because you're helping yourself. So to those who worry about these stupid interviews and far off places, don't worry. The Republican Party has figured it out when it comes to Israel. We understand that Israel is a friend of America to the bitter end. We understand that God blesses those who bless Israel. And where I come from, I figured that crap out when I was 6 years old. God bless you. Thank you very much.
First of all, he makes Trump sound like he's just some bombing maniac. Trump's been going around the world, I think too much so. I'd like to have more focus here in America if you haven't gotten that from me today. He's been going around the world. He is trying to make peace deals with everybody. Lindsey Graham wants to make it sound like he's bombing the hell out of everybody. It's such a misleading statement. Why? Because we went in and protected ourselves against Iran, so this way they couldn't have nuclear missiles? Something that Tucker Carlson can't believe. It was a pointless bombing of Iran. Iran's been talking about bombing us forever. But he's going to make Trump sound like he's just some kind of bomb maniac. And then secondly, we love Israel. I don't love Israel. I'm a conservative. I don't love Israel. I love America. Why wouldn't he say we love America? Where is that? That message has been lost. We've completely lost it. And that's why I dedicated today's show. I want you to think about it. How many people you ever hearing getting up there talking these days about we love America? The problems we have in this country, it's real easy when you start focusing on fixing other countries and other countries' problems. What about fixing our own problems? We got a lot of problems that need to be fixed. It is Trump's responsibility at this point to bring this party together. There's only one guy who can do it. It's got to be the President of the United States. And right now, the face of MAGA, Make America Great Again, is Donald J. Trump. It's not Tucker Carlson's job to say what the 5 pillars of MAGA are. Donald J. Trump needs to call out these people by name and say, we are all focusing in on America, and then he's got to prove it. Tonight, the plan is that I will be on Rudy Giuliani's podcast at 8:15 p.m. It's about 15 minutes. I'm going to play a scene here from They Come to America 2 between Rudy Giuliani and myself. And here's the thing. This was done probably 13, 14 years ago. And I want you to ask yourself, has Dennis's message ever changed? Play it.
It's an open wound. The border is an open wound for people to get in. If 100 people a night can get in undetected, among those 100 people a night in one particular area, 3 people can be terrorists. If 1,000 people a night can get in another area, well, they're getting in. Nobody's looking at them. They could be terrorists. We just don't know.
It took 19 people to execute 9/11.
Right.
Nowadays, don't you think it could just maybe take 1 or 2 to create terror across a country in one day?
Sure. Here's what hasn't happened. There's something about September 11th that helped us in terms of it's not being repeated. And that is, I believe that they want to do an incident that is as big or bigger than that. They want to go one step further. That's hard.
I don't think. I think those people are the sickest bastards in the world that are willing to wait and wait and wait and wait. I think it's either going to be on the trains because they're wide open, or it's going to be a series of these people who are all across the country right now, and they're going to pull out little tiny attacks that get us in the heart.
4 أرطال من الأنثراكس 4 أرطال جنطة هالكبرها يشيلها واحد فدائي ويدخلها من أنفاق مكسيكو إلى الولايات المتحدة كفيلة بقتل 330 ألف أمريكي في ساعة واحدة. يعني 11 سبتمبر تطلع زلاطة عند الموضوع هذا. ما في داعي طيارات وشكبانات ومواعيد وقصة من المؤامرات والتوقيتات. واحد عنده من البسالة اللي يدخل معاه 4 أرطال من الأنثراكس ويكت عليهم النون هذا، صح ولا لا؟ تصير المسألة طماشة هناك.
So for those of you who are listening to the show, or even those of you on a cell phone who couldn't see the translation, the written translation of what that Arabic cleric, the Islamic cleric, had to say about America at the end of the clip, I'm going to read it for you here. I'm going to play it back on my phone. It says, this is what he says, and he's talking to a whole group of Islamics. 4 pounds of anthrax in a suitcase this big. And he puts his hands up, a very small little suitcase. Okay. Carried by a fighter through the tunnels from Mexico into the United States of America. Guaranteed to kill 330 Americans within a single hour. 9/11 will be small change in comparison. There is no need for airplanes, conspiracies, timings, and so on. One person with the courage to carry out 4 pounds of anthrax and will spread this confetti all over them, meaning you and me. It will turn into a real celebration. That's what that guy said there at the end. Joe Biden allowed droves, probably 20 million illegal aliens coming across the border. Many of them from our adversaries, countries, adversarial countries. Many of them Muslims. They're in this country right now. We see truck drivers driving around with CDL licenses, commercial driver's licenses, who are legal aliens with driver's licenses that don't even have their name on it. They are in the United States right this very moment. And as I said to Rudy Giuliani, they are willing to wait and wait and wait. And when they see somebody like Mamdani taking over New York City, vowing to shut down the part of the New York City Police Department that has their counterterrorism unit, and to be lackadaisical on criminals, if you don't think that we have just opened ourselves up to the worst possible events, well, then you should watch Tucker Carlson and just go hate on Israel. Or go listen to Mark Levin as he hates on Tucker. Me, I'm going to be sitting here talking to you about the things that matter. American safety, American jobs, American prosperity, and American culture. Because as of right now, we're losing all of those. And yeah, that's a little bit of a hit on President Trump. I need him, we need him to get focused back in on what matters most. And he can start by bringing his party back together again under one tent. Change the narrative into focus on America and America only. It is the one single thing that needs to be done above all other things. Otherwise, the presidential messages will next be what plays in Arabic or Chinese. Mark my word, there is nothing I have ever told you that hasn't come true when it comes to immigration, legal or illegal. Every single thing has come true. That's that. If you're a Tucker fan and you don't like what I had to say, well, your problem should be with Tucker, not with me. If you're a Mark Levin fan and you don't like what I just had to say, well, then your problem is somewhere else. I'm about America. We're always going to be about America first and foremost. That's how it works. If you agree with that, I hope you share the video. I hope you share this podcast. If not, well then, good news is, I guess you won't be watching me tonight on Rudy Giuliani. X.com/trustdml. The interview will be there. We'll also take a clip of it and we'll put it up there for you tomorrow. And God willing, we will be back to you on Thursday. And we'll be talking about, actually, you know what? We may change it up. I'll talk to Ryan about this. Maybe what we'll do is we'll come to you Wednesday so we could talk about what just happened in New York City and Minneapolis and all the election results. So maybe what we'll do is we'll switch the show to Wednesday. Let's do that. We're going to switch it to Wednesday. Wednesday, we will be with you at 9 a.m. to talk about the election results. And then maybe we'll do a Thursday show as well. We'll see what happens. Until the next time, may God bless you. May God bless our troops. May God bless our president. And leave me some comments here in the comment section. Let me know what you think of the program, if we can make any improvements or what have you. Until the next time, stay well.
Get the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DML News app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and Team DML.